Welcome to the intermediate class today. So hopefully you're sitting nice and tall, remembering to elevate that spine. So it's so key that you make your preparations. So for today's class, what I'd like you to do to get this elongation of the spine is to use your hands and to use your arms. So we're going to come into a Parvatasana action, extending those arms up nicely, really getting that extension and opening through the side waist really strongly. Keeping that lift through the center of the body, moving those shoulder blades really deeply down, moving up through the center of the body. Soft inhalation and exhalation. Keeping those shoulder blades really deeply within. So as you extend those arms up, you've got to see that you make space between the side waist and then releasing the arms down, taking the fingertips to the floor, pin those shoulders back, place the hands onto the thighs. So see if you can maintain all of that really lovely length. Now down to business. So we're going to just extend back in this position. Now exactly where we were in our seated Sukhasana action, Parvatasana. So I'm going to reach those arms up and then reach them back. Now those of you who find it difficult to reach your arms back, then you can place your arms onto some support and go on reaching those arms back nicely. Keep the abdomen really nice and soft, and as you reach those palms, those arms away, you've got to see that you walk those feet away as well. So both are working. You've got to see that you lift from the pelvis. So you've got to soften this pelvic bowl area. So the pelvic bowl has got to really soften and then extending through the center in this way. So this is exactly what we need in a lot of our poses, this lift from the sacral lumbar junction. So we're going to come again, but this time we're going to change. So the other little finger's on the outside this time and extend up. Extending back through the center of the body and extending again. Let those legs do the walking. Extend and reach in. Parvatasana, go and turn those little fingers down towards the floor side. Extend the heels away. Let the abdomen soften. And keep lengthening all the way through the body. Okay, and now releasing the arms. Now we're coming into Tadasana, but supine. So walk those hands down, walk those legs, walk those hands so that you are in a Tadasana action. Extend the heels away from you as if you are reaching those heels so far away, as if you're trying to reach a wall, hands in Tadasana. Now you've got to lift your chest from the base of the spine. So see that you lift the chest, press down into the back of those arms, press down into the back of the wrists and lift the chest. Go and see if you can get your outer shoulders down. Can you get your outer shoulders down with this resistance? Can you get these outer shoulders down? Very strong. Keep that action, keep that movement, keep that lift through the center. Bharadvajasana in supine action. Go and see, reach in as much as you can. Bharadvajasana. Okay, well done. I'm going to bring the arms back now. Now when I come up, I'm going to see that I come up, but from lifting the sacral area. So I want to come up like this, and then not to just roll up, but to lift the sacral area. So I'm lifting my chest, lifting the sacral area, and then you've got to slide the buttock flesh back so that you can come into this seated action. So these are really good habits to get into, to really recognize how much you need to elevate your spine. Okay, so before we go any further, just take a look. So we know now that when we extend, those arms have got to really support us. This sacral area lifts up. So when I come into Urdhva Hastasana, I'm going to go back, but I'm going to reach up and see, can I take the legs up? Oh yes, first thing, and then releasing down. Keep that lift in the sacral lumbar junction. Okay, let's have a go in Parvatasana. Extending, reaching. Okay, work with me. Now you've got to really see that that diaphragm, that underneath the dome, it sinks to the spine. It's got to sink to the spine. Reach, 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 and extend up. Keeping that action really nicely. Spread your toes. Get that connection. Okay, change the intellect. I know some of you may get some cramp in this position. Okay, it's just, you know, how it is. You've got to see that you get that lift again. So, sacral lumbar junction lifting, sacral lumbar junction lifting. Open the armpit chest, so the ribs have got to come forward, but as the ribs comes forward, the diaphragm has got to sink back. So you get all of these really lovely connections going on. Extending, reaching, spreading those toes, getting that action. Okay, so that's great. Dandasana again, take a few breaths. Soft inhalation, exhalation. So you want to see that this buttock flesh is moving back really nicely, and you're moving that sacral lumbar junction in. And it's almost like you're curving the spine, curving the spine. You've got to see that you curve the spine. And then press the air and come into your Parapunanavasana. Yeah, we knew that was coming. Okay, so have another go at this. Sit in Dandasana, elongate the spine. Yes, and as the ribs come forward, this whole area mustn't come forward. As the ribs come forward, you've got to see that you sink that diaphragm, keeping that lift so much in the chest. And the arms out, yes, and squeeze the air. And then releasing down. Okay, well done. Have a look at the screen. Alright, so we're coming into Marichyasana 1. Just have a look at the screen firstly. You're going to reach up, and now this area, sacral lumbar junction, reaching up, it's got to reach up from there. And see how much you can get that turn in action. Alright, keeping the straight leg absolutely straight and strong. You can get that turn in action. Get that twist. Iron out some of those actions now. Keeping that connection. Okay, if you haven't started, then come on, it's your turn now. Bending that left leg, extending the arm up, hooking the arm in front of the thigh, and getting that turn. Getting that turn. What did we say? We had to see that that sacral lumbar junction was lifting from that area, and get that turn. Get that turn in action. You might be a bit of an adjustment, which is really a bonus. Okay, all right, if you've done one side, do the other side now. Extend, lift up, come into this action. Remember this abdominal action. Where the dome comes, you've got to see that that moves back to the spine. So you get more turn in action. That's the way to do it. So hopefully you've done both sides now. You're in it. Okay, well done. Have a look at the screen just for a moment. All right, so we're going to go straight into Marichyasana 3 now. Just have a look. Now, those of you who find this struggling, a really difficult pose, then sit higher onto a couple of foam pads. That would really work well. So what we're going to do again, watch this action. I'm just going to hold here because I want to see that I get that lift from the sacral lumbar junction and then hook. Now, instead of keep turning, I've got to see that that dome area's got to move deeply to the spine. So I get this Marichyasana 3 action, turning, squeezing, getting that action nicely. And releasing. Okay, we'll do it together now. So bending your right leg, taking your hand back, hold on to the onto the head of the shin firstly. Now get that lift out of the sacrum. Come on, lift up, get that turn, get that lift, turn, 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 and then reach and hook and hook. Now this diaphragm, it's got to go back, to the spine. You have to sink it to the spine. And then be in this position. See how much lift you can get. How much lift can you get from pushing into that outer thigh? Push into the outer thigh and lift up even more. Come on, lift up even more. Okay, other side if you haven't done. Come on. And again, other side, or if you've caught up and you've done both sides, do the side that was most challenging. So remember that when you get that lift, you've got to connect into the spine so much. You've got to find that sacral lumbar junction. Now, why is this important? Very important when we come to stand-ins. All right, releasing completely. Sit in Dandasana. Sit with the thighs moving deeply in, lifting up so much nicely, and extending through the center of the body. Be there. Okay, now those of you who find Gomukhasana really challenging, then you may be challenged in this pose now because we are sitting in Dandasana for this. Those of you who find it really difficult to bend your knees, you're going to be all right on this one today. So if you need to have a belt for your hand, then that's fine. So watch, I'm going to take the arm back. This is when you would hold on to a belt, reaching up and then catching. Now, the key thing with this action is you want to go up from the sacral lumbar junction, but also you want to take the diaphragm deeply in towards the spine side. And keep going up. So it's quite a hard action with straight legs. And of course, remember to use your supports. Remember to sit on a couple of foam pads if you need to. All right, your turn. Sit in Dandasana. Sit with the legs nice and straight, extending into the heels. Okay, let's go. Taking that arm around and see. It goes up the back, extending the top arm up and reaching. And breathe. Really use that breath. And catch. Catching the arm. Go and see that you get that connection. Now, once you've caught or you're holding your belt, then you really need to get that lift, but move this dome area just underneath the dome. It's got to go back to the spine. You've got to lift this whole chest cavity, the whole of the front body enormously. It's such a big action, such a big action. Okay, and now releasing. Let's do the other side now. So get your seated position really strong and stable. Ground down with those thighs, and then let's go. Taking the arm, reaching up with the top arm and catching. Seeing, can you get that connection? Looking forward. Extending up, moving the diaphragm deeply towards the spinal side. And just see if you can hold it. If you're using your belt, fine. But keep going up. Keep pushing those elbows away from one another. Yeah. Well done. All right. Good. And releasing. All right. So what we're going to do now is to come into a prone position. Now, this is not everybody's favorite pose. So I haven't put this in for a little while. All right, just have a look at the screen. I'm just going to move my sound device to the side a little bit. All right, so yes, you've guessed it, Chaturanga Dandasana. Okay, so you've got to remember that you've got to lift underneath the dome. So when we come into this, you lift and then release. Now, those of you who find this really challenging and you don't get any lift from the floor at all, then there's different ways that we can come into this. Just look at the screen and just have a look at these few ways of how you can come into this action. So you can pause the video, just have a look at the options. and see which one you feel that you'd like to have a go. But I'd like you all to have a go at this classic way of working because of the preparation that we've already had. All right, so come into a prone position. So when you come into a prone position, then you've got to see that you reach those legs away from you. You've got to reach those heels away from you. You've got to see that you are lengthening and lifting from your sacral lumbar junction. And now this is the key shot. This is the key shot. You've got to see that this diaphragm area moves deeply because it's going to lift you. It's going to give you a foundation. It's like two hands supporting you. You've got to go in and up. You've got to go in and up with the diaphragm. See that you get that action. It's not just a squeezing, gripping, hoping for the best. You've got to really get that action and see how it goes. And pause and hold. So remember those options that we just showed on the screen earlier. If you need to use the belt, use the belt. Or if you need to use the wall, use the wall. They are really good ways of practicing. Now you don't just come up and that's it. Do a couple of times. Have another go, one more go. See if you can get that dynamic action, remembering that connection with the very, very upper abdominal area. So that diaphragm action is really key. Okay, and release it. Well done, whichever way you're doing, just release it. All right, so we're going to come into Adho Mukha, so just have a look at the screen. Now we've got all this wonderful knowledge. We're going to come up and see that when we're in this position, we've got to lift the back of the thighs really well. Now, it's no good being here and trying to push the sacral lumbar junction down. You can see this action on the screen. So I'll just try and get the camera a little bit closer here. Now, you want to see that that area is supported by separating this back crease. So you've got to lift it up, and then you've got to lift the sacral lumbar junction by lifting the whole of the front waist. Whole of the front waist, and then you keep going back. And you can see I come closer and closer to the floor. And see that action. All right, so you don't want to start back. You want to come forward a little bit, separate the back of those creases. You've got to lift the buttock bone, and then lift the sacral lumbar junction, lift the diaphragm, and then come back. Okay, come on, another go. One more go. Yeah. All right, well done. And releasing down. All right, so we're going to come for Bharadvajasana now. So I'm going to roll my mat. Now I'm going to use this mat. Now you can actually replace this mat with a bolster if you want to. So if you prefer to use the bolster, we're coming for Bharadvajasana twist, so just have a look here. So if you prefer to use the bolster, then do. So I'm just going to be coming into this Bharadvajasana. So one foot is across the instep of the lower leg, and then I start to come into the action. Now I'm going to pause halfway because I want to see that I get really a nice turning of the front spine, and then extend this way. Now don't worry, any of you who find it really difficult to get that full rotation, you can turn your head in this way if this is better at this moment in time, or you come into this action. So it's a soft inhalation and exhalation. Just let the whole body release into your Bharadvajasana. Let the shoulders go. So you hold on to the shoulders, trying to hold the pose up. But you don't need to do that in this. You can just let that whole action of going down happen. It's such an important practice. So soft inhalation, exhalation, just let the whole body Release down, just sigh into that weighted area.